Hello, everyone. I'm Amanda George. I have worked in the field of support coordination since 1995 in Missouri, and very happy to be here today um, with you on this person-centered planning module for the Employment First Toolkit. Person-centered planning is something that's near and dear to my heart. I've been providing training on person-centered planning for a long, long time and really have seen how doing good planning with people we serve can help them get the life that they want. So why person-centered planning? You see here we have a comparison between system-centered and person-centered planning. System-centered planning is really focused on what the person can't do, what they still have left to learn, their deficits, and it's about labeling people so they're eligible for the system. And it relies on just standardized tests and assessments and reports. You see the person really doesn't have a strong role here. It's very professional focused. Person-centered is just that. It's all about the person and meets the person where they're at in their, in this particular situation, in their interest in working, in their employment journey. It's really a great way to connect with the person and their team to learn what the person wants out of a job, out of their life even, and what their future goals are for employment. So person-centered planning will make it much more likely that you can help the person find a job that they want and that they will keep. It doesn't come with a set list of jobs that are available. It's really about looking at the gifts, the capacities, the interests, and the supports that the person needs, and then finding the job that matches that. Support coordinators are a really critical role in a person's life as they're trying to find a job. You're there facilitating the planning process that is ultimately going to lead to employment. So Michael Kendrick's list of touchstones really to keep in mind as you're working with people is really critical. It takes a lot for the folks we serve to open up and share their deepest dreams and visions for their life. It takes a lot of trust. So we need to be there with the person and do all of these things. I can't believe Michael Kendrick just hit it right on the nose there when he lists all these things. But one of the most important parts of this is letting the individual guide the process. You know, we're all trained professionals, which means we're really eager to get in there and plan and do and figure things out. And we may move too fast sometimes. So we need to remember that we are here for the person and we are alongside them on their journey. When we think about trusted supports, this is such a critical piece of the planning process. You want folks that the job seeker selects to be a part of this. It takes a group of people to help a person find a job. If you think back to some of the jobs you've had in your life, you know, did your mom help you get that job? Did your mom call somebody that she knew to help you get that job? These are people who not only care about the job seeker, but they also may be perfect connectors to help that person find a job. So consider all of these characteristics when the job seeker is selecting people. From looking at this slide, you can tell that finding a job is just not as simple as filling out applications and turning them in and crossing your fingers that you'll get an interview for a job. We know that there are several steps and key steps to helping a person find a job. The job search comes after you have really thoroughly gone through the self-exploration and assessment. The person does some job research, which is so cool. They're actually maybe doing some trying out of the job in exploration and experimentation. And then they really have to weigh the pros and cons of all their options and then developing that plan of action. So you are a trusted advisor and supporter in this process. Again, playing a really critical role in helping a person find their job. Now we're going to talk about a couple of different tools that you can use in helping people think through all of the aspects of finding a job. The first one is a guide for career discovery. This is a great workbook for the person and their trusted support persons to use almost page by page in filling out the information there. It also provides a great resource for support professionals to get more information and resources. Several years ago, I was introduced to this workbook and found it to be just a great tool for me to use to sit down with the family. They had some ideas about what they wanted their daughter to do, and their daughter had some ideas. And as we went through the workbook, it was really great to help clarify more and more what it was their daughter wanted to do. She wanted to work in a clothing store. She wanted eventually to have her own line of clothes and do some big stuff like that. We were looking for her first job. So it was really good because her parents had ideas about bagging groceries, maybe working at McDonald's or cleaning. And those never came up for their daughter as things she wanted to do. So we were able to get a lot of great experiences for her because her parents knew, like I said, everyone. And she eventually found a job at Macy's, working part-time in the department store. So that was great. The next tool we're going to talk about is Charting the Life Course Nexus. And this is a great resource for you. They have lots and lots of specific tools you can download and information around employment to take a look at. The next few slides will be going through several of these tools and the concepts behind them. So understanding the job seeker. This is a really important first step. If you don't understand the job seeker and what they want out of their job, who they are, the things they're good at, the supports that they need, what motivates them, then you're really at a disadvantage when they're starting to look for a job. So it's a really great place to start. Creating vision for a good life. This is a really helpful tool that you can use to really chart out that end goal with the person. What does a great overall life look like? What does a great job look like? And then thinking about what does the person need to have for conditions and preferences on their job? And then the opposite of that, what is a vision for a job that wouldn't work, or the vision that for life that they don't want? So for overall life, it might be they don't want to be lonely or sad. Employment, jobs, maybe they've had jobs before, or they've heard about jobs that they know they don't want. It might be they don't want to work on the weekends, or they don't want to clean. And then again, what are the conditions and situations that are deal breakers for that person that we shouldn't even try to go for? So mapping the trajectory. This goes along with the last tool. So once we get that vision for a good life and a good job, the dream job, and then what the person doesn't want in their employment, we can then be looking at what will get us to that dream job. And you can look at a person's history with those past experiences and, oh, nope, there's a whole bunch of experiences back there that the person really didn't enjoy their job. There were obstacles to employment. So we can learn from that and then plan for new experiences that the person can have, or things to try, or supports that they need in order to move towards that vision of a great job. Here's another approach. This is not one of the life course, charting the life course Nexus tools, but it's a really important thing for support coordinators to be aware of. Look at these 6 areas and all of the different aspects of support that go into that. So, are there accessibility issues for the person that they'll need to consider and advocate for as they're getting their job? What natural supports might be available? Is it going to be important for them to look for a job uh, environment that would offer, ride sharing, or maybe other staff and employees already do that there? Does the person need assistive technology to help? What kind of training program or orientation would the person need to get their job? And then think about just housing, transportation, and relationships, those individual and community type supports. And financial, there's so much there around once you get a paycheck, what are you going to do with it? So many of us had our first jobs and then wondered where our paycheck went when we got the first one. Integrating supports for employment outcomes. This is a great way to get with the person and their team and their family and their trusted supporters and think about all of the resources they have in their life for support to help with getting that job. Or you may find that some of these areas don't have any support, or resources, so you know where you need to build those resources. So the areas are technology, personal assets and strengths, relationships, community-based, and eligibility specific. So here we see more questions and things to consider when we're looking at the actual job and where the person's going to work. So these are really important things to have addressed before the person actually accepts a job. And as a support coordinator, we might be kind of the last line of making sure these questions get asked. So if you're working with a family and the person is just out there getting the job on their own, it's really important to make sure you're sitting down with the family and the person and going through all of these components, because we know it can be the little things we don't think of that can really mess up a job opportunity for someone. So if you get a job 30 miles away from where you live and you haven't thought about transportation, that can really be a deal breaker when it comes to keeping that job. We know that more and more we live in a world of technology and use it every day, all the time. We want to make sure that support coordinators are aware of all of the different kinds of technology out there. And it doesn't have to always be high tech. There's some great examples here of low tech, medium tech, and high tech. So, if the person needs things larger, there's a lot of low cost ways to get technology for people on the job. And you may be reading this and thinking you could benefit from some of these too. The next few slides go through all of those different support areas and give you some great resources where you can dig in more and look for more ideas on how to find resources. In your role as support coordinator, it's important that you're aware of these resources, because people may come to you for ideas or have questions. Even support providers may need some help from time to time. And this one's on technology. The next one is on personal assets and strengths, which really gets you into thinking about what you're good at and where your abilities lie. There are some more examples of tools and things to think about listed under these resources that you can do with the person or send to the family or the support team to work on together. The next area is relationship-based supports. And here are some really good resources for helping people develop resources, how families can support their family member with a disability to develop relationships. And the next area of resources is community-based. There's so many great resources already existing in the community. Missouri Connections, which is a free online career development and planning program. It's very, very useful. And then Missouri Job Centers are available around the state to access and always have lots of great resources and job listings. The last area of support is eligibility specific. So this is all about the services and supports someone will qualify for because they have a disability. And we want to keep these in mind as we move through because they can really have some great supports. And finally, we have the references, which provide great links for you to dig in deeper to all of the information that has been shared in this presentation. So I think some parting words. I know personally how hard support coordination is, and you have many different roles with people you serve. I think just know that your perspective and attitude makes a really big difference on whether or not a person wants to get a job and is successful in their search.